Buongiorno and welcome to the Bella Sun Luci test kitchen. Happy springtime, felice primavera. My name is Chef Richie Hershen, and here we are with all these wonderful ingredients to cook the newest honorable mention winner recipe from our recipe contest. This year it ends July 1st, so get your recipes in at bellasunluci.com, please. This is Mary Kay LaBrie's recipe for pistachio crusted lamb with Pistou, a mint, basil, oregano pesto. It's got many elements. There's a marinade, there's a crust, there's the cooking of the meat, there's the garnishing, and there's the Pistou at the end. The first thing we're going to do now is we're going to make the marinade and we're going to marinate the lamb racks. So there are three ingredients to do this with. First of all, we have reserved the oil from the sun-dried tomatoes julienne cut. And so we're going to add 3 tablespoons of that. We're going to add our very rich, thick, if you can see that as it pours, balsamic vinegar. And then rosemary, fresh cut from the garden and picked. Lovely. And let's mix all that up to marinate our lamb. So here are the lamb racks. To go in fat cap side down. We'll do this for an hour. We'll turn them over so that the meat side has some marination time. And we're gonna go make our crust in the food processor. So let's come over here and do that. We're gonna start with pistachios. Mary Kay, our chef, calls for dry roasted, salted pistachios, which we're going to process in the food processor to the point where they're about like breadcrumbs. And yeah, we're down there. So this is the size of breadcrumbs, if you can see that. We're going to pour them into a bowl. Così, like that. We're going to add our bruschetta, which is a tomato, basil, garlic, parmesan, and walnut sauce that's good with everything. You can use our bruschetta in pasta, on pizza. It goes well for a bread dipping oil. And then we're going to add fresh squeezed lemon juice. I mentioned the rosemary from our garden. The lemon juice is from lemons from our tree here at Bella Sun Luci. And there's our crust. So to crust the lamb, we're going to do it on the fat side. We call this the fat cap. Okay? And we're going to put equal amounts onto the fat cap. We're only going to crust it on one side. Okay? So a spoon here, a spoon there. So there's our crust. But now we're going to turn it down, crust side down onto the pan, so that both the crust and the fat cook. Okay, so here we go into the oven. So here we are with the ingredients for the Pistou. Typically in Italy, a pesto is only pesto genovese, which means it's from the town of Genova or Genoa, and it only has basil and garlic, pine nuts, parmesan, salt and pepper, and of course olive oil. Typically that's pesto, but other countries have different kinds of pestos, and this uses mint, which I love because of the springtime and the fact that it's lamb. So let's get that all going right away. First we're going to add the basil and the mint from the garden, also the mint, and fresh oregano, a couple of cloves of garlic. We're going to put a large pinch of salt. It's going to be a little salty because we didn't really add salt to the lamb, and although there's salt in the pistachios and the bruschetta, this is going to make the lamb pop out with the flavor better. We're going to add our sun-dried tomatoes, julienne cut, Bella Sun Luci's pride and joy. We're going to add a bit of parmesan. So it's almost like a pesto exactly, except that the pistachios are on the lamb. And we're going to add some lemon juice. And we are going to process this all and have a very fancy, wonderful Pistou. Now we're going to finish with the olive oil. Bella Sun Luci olive oil. We grow the olives and mill ourselves. And here we go. Looks wonderful. I'm sure it's going to taste great with all those wonderful herbs, aromatics, and the sun-dried tomatoes all together, and the garlic. Yummy. Looking good so far. Nice color. Okay, so now we're going to flip it, and just to make sure that we get the crust to completely adhere, we're going to spatula this off of the pan and then flip it. Okay? Nice and slow like that. And we do have beautiful color. I want you to use a spatula to get it up off the pan because it may not naturally perfectly stick, the crust. See, some of it's falling off. But then what you do, because you're an adjuster as a chef, is you add it back on. Let's get this back into the oven for the finishing 10 or so minutes. We've rested up the lamb. We're now going to transfer it to our cutting board and give it a slice right down the middle, in between the bones. And I have to turn your knife a little bit to get in between the bones. See that, how it's at an angle? So for presentation, let's cut through again, finding where the opening is in between the meat and the bone. Put down the Pistou first, which we'll do. And then here are your double chops arranged on the plate. And here's some of the extra crust. For the final garnish, Chef Mary Kay does recommend we tear some basil leaves and sprinkle them on. Here is a little bit of the leftover rosemary from the garden, which I love with lamb. And here's some of our famous balsamic. And the recipe calls for glaze, and watch this just drizzle. Wonderful. That's my kind of dish. Happy springtime, buon primavera. Enjoy your lamb with the Pistou. Arrivederci.